Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Marvel Plus Podcast, the show where we talk the Marvel shows on Disney Plus and how they connect to the MCU. My name is Bret, aka Enigma9011, and you can catch this podcast live over on twitch.tv/Enigma9011 every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. You check it out over there, join in the chat and on the conversation if you're a subscriber over there. Love to have you in, join in on the fun theories and discussions about the episode. If you can't catch it live, that's A-OK. It drops over on YouTube and SoundCloud the very next day at 12 noon Eastern, so you can give it a watch, give it a listen over there. So yes, today we are talking about the What If series, episode 2, What If T'Challa was a Star-Lord, or became a Star-Lord. Now, right off the bat, that confuses me. I didn't realize Star-Lord was a title. I thought it was just the hero's name. I don't know if this is a mistype. I highly doubt it, but that just confused me off the bat. But before we even get to the thick of the things, the plot and everything, just off the bat, I thought this episode was much, much better than episode 1. We talked about episode 1 rushing a lot, it seemed, to kind of follow the plot line or the plot points of the first Captain America movie, First Avenger. This one, while the beginning follows Guardians of the Galaxy, totally did its own thing and has told its own story, and I think that kind of benefited this episode. So hopefully, continuing down the line with the remainder of the episodes, hopefully it stays that way and it's not shot for shot, but like trying to chase after what the movie story was telling with just the slight tweak of things. So getting into it, like I mentioned, we're going to start off our episode similar to Guardians of the Galaxy, where T'Challa is going to retrieve the Power Stone from the ruins on Morag. Korvac's going to show up with his crew, and it turns out Korvac is a huge fan of Star-Lord, and the reputation is way, way different than what we saw with Peter Quill's character, obviously in the Guardians movie. So, we see, obviously, the reputation is different, and obviously we see the action play out for T'Challa and how he takes care of the guards along with Korvac. And we also notice he still has the Black Panther necklace on. So he still has part of his home apparel, whatever you want to, keepsakes, with him on his person. So that was cool to see. At this point, I was wondering, because I know Killmonger had one that Shuri had developed, that the suit was just contained in the necklace. I think actually she did that for, she did that for her brother, and then Killmonger took the suit, but still. So it was like, oh crap, are we going to get the Black Panther suit through the necklace? But once again, that was a Shuri development, so I don't think that was around at this point. But I just thought it was intriguing. He still has the necklace, the keepsake to his home. So he beats up the guards, beats up Korvac, decides to take Korvac on and recruit him, so he's carrying his unconscious body back to his ship while escaping with the Power Stone. Turns out to be a lot of guards waiting outside for him. Turns out he has backup, so he didn't fly solo for this mission. Yondu turns out to be, there as well to help him out with his arrow, and they will then leave with Quill's ship. Or, sorry, not Quill's ship, his ship. And instead of it being the Milano, it is named the Mandela, which is just a small little touch. Thought it was nice. So now from here, we're going to learn how T'Challa specifically got up to here and in the possession of Yondu and became a Star-Lord. So we learn that, T'Challa is wanting to go out and explore the world and not be stuck in this bubble of Wakanda, but his dad is very protective of him because outside of Wakanda is just a lot of war, bloodshed, just a lot of animosity between people. So he's just, look, we're going to be our own thing. We'll grow as a community here, and we'll just live happy and healthy while, maintaining ourselves. But T'Challa wants to go out and explore and see more as a kid. So we see that he's playing with, I think it was like a spear of some kind, and it happens to fly outside of the bubble. He decides to go retrieve it. And when he goes to retrieve it, he gets taken by the Ravagers. The thing that's different from the story, besides just him getting taken, was in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, apparently Yondu was the one that specifically had the mission from Ego to go pick up Peter. Yondu instead decides to send Taserface and Sean Gunn's character, which I'm blanking on the name for him, send them instead to go retrieve the child. Obviously, wrong kid. Yondu's not too happy about it, but seeing the excitement levels from T'Challa for like exploring things, the world, and now the universe being available to him, he decides to keep on T'Challa and recruit him into the Ravagers instead. So we're going to skip ahead back to current time, 20 years later, and we see this big... They're celebrating after, the successful heist of the Power Stone, retrieval of that. They're kind of at this planet bar party thing going on. And we learn a lot about T'Challa, kind of like how he's filled this role, and he's done a lot of good in this role. He's helped planets, kind of recover. They make a lot of references to it, and even a call out at one point. He's similar to Robin Hood in this way. Someone's in trouble or, not off to the best foot, he's going to take from the rich, steal from the poor, get them the resources that they need. So he's done a lot of good, and it affects a lot of things, and how characters are going to play out. We're going to get one of our biggest reveals almost immediately, that he stopped Thanos from doing, fulfilling his mission or his prophecy of the genocide, and not the snap per se, but like that being the way to solve his problem. And Thanos is now a Ravager and is kind of cool and friendly with them. So big shock there. So T'Challa stopped Thanos and recruited him to the Ravagers. Another big character change we're going to see is Drax the Destroyer, Dave Bautista's character. His planet, because T'Challa stopped Thanos, his planet's completely fine. Didn't get destroyed. His family's okay too. He's just the bartender at this bar. Big fan of T'Challa. Gets a photo with him. We get a little fun moment with him. Nothing too big. And then we get one more reveal for a character that we've seen in the past, but is way different. And that's Nebula. Nebula looks way different. No android robot parts with her. She's just herself. Got long flowing blonde hair. Still a little animosity between her and Thanos. They don't see eye to eye, but we see her in a totally different light, and it seems like her and T'Challa are off, have a good relationship there. So we get some, along with these other characters, we get some more info about T'Challa and why he's stayed in space and never gone home. Apparently Wakanda, unfortunately, has been destroyed by a war during his time gone. So that's not super. He kind of shares this with, obviously, the audience, us, and Nebula at some point. But Nebula comes to him with a mission, a new thing to kind of help people. Turns out the Collector has a resource that can feed planets and their people, and what was it called? The Embers of Genesis is what it's called. So she's trying to recruit him to obviously take this artifact and try and help people with it. Collector is way different than what we've seen in the movies. Still obviously collecting things, but man, oh man, does he look a lot different, and does he act a lot different. He's apparently like an evil tyrant kingpin in a way, while in the movies we saw him more as like, he had a sadistic side to him, but he was kind of more limited in what he could physically do. I don't know if that makes sense. He was not the most intimidating in a man. Yondu seems very hesitant on taking this deal and dealing with the Collector, but T'Challa sees the rewards of helping others, so he decides to take this mission on. So we're going to travel over to Nowhere to take this mission on. So we are entering the Collector's facility. They have made a whole plan to kind of sneak T'Challa in order to get the Embers of Genesis and get them out of there. Turns out Nebula has a debt she needs to repay for the Collector, so she's going to take the newly acquired Power Stone along with Yondu to go in there and just have like a reason for being there at the Collector's facility. A change because Thanos once again has recouped and been recruited to the good guys team. The Black Order now works for the Collector. So Proxima Midnight, Corpus Glaive, I'm forgetting the big guy's name, and then Maud something or other. Sorry. But the guys we saw in Infinity War Endgame, his kids, quote unquote, they are working for the Collector as his security team and part of his higher-ups. So, turns out, in order to help them get in security-wise, Thanos and Korvac and the other Ravagers are going to cause a big disturbance in the local town, city, etc. So they're going to do that. The rest of the guys are going to be able to get in. I mentioned Collector looks a lot different. He's huge. He's jacked. He's muscled. Very intimidating. So Nebula and Yondu are going to go talk to the Collector, try and eat up some of his time, while T'Challa is going to try and navigate through the collection, find the Embers of Genesis. We're going to see some familiar faces. We're going to see Cosmo the Space Dog. We're going to see a Dark Elf from Thor the Dark World. And we're going to see Howard the Duck, our friend, who's eventually going to help us navigate through the collection after T'Challa decides to break him out. As they're exploring, I mentioned the necklace before. T'Challa's necklace is going to start to glow, and he discovers there's a Wakandan ship. Apparently they made a spaceship or something in the collection. And this has a recording from his dad trying to find his son. So, shaky. Some info in there that he thought he knew. Turns out not to be correct. His dad is fine and Wakanda's fine, so that's not fun. And then we get double-crossed by Nebula. Nebula has now ambushed T'Challa and has captured him to add him to the collection for the Collector. So yeah, now with them captured, T'Challa now decides to face Yondu and be like, yo, what the fuck happened? You told me my planet was, or not planet, my home was destroyed. That's not true. I thought you guys were my family, but you're not my family. So we have the little discrepancy there. Not great. T'Challa's then brought over to the Collector. They have a little powwow chat. Turns out Collector's not going to keep him in the collection because he's just an ordinary dude. Says you can just dissect him, scrap the remains. So then we get a double cross. Nebula has turned against the Collector. Swell. Told T'Challa about his plan, and they had talked this all out. Or Nebula's actually going to free the prisoners. That's where she double crosses. Excuse me. So she's getting Yondu free. She's getting Thanos free, and the rest of the Ravagers up and out of there. So then they can go take care of things. T'Challa's going to take care of the Collector by himself. That was his plan all along. They talked about it at the bar, but did not let the other Ravagers know. So he breaks out with the necklace. Kind of uses almost like brass knuckles. And the pink girl, who I couldn't remember her name, T'Challa does this big passionate speech while he's trapped about like, oh, you're keeping people prisoner. She connects with this, resonates with it, so she decides to take out Maud and shoot him. Her name is Karina, I think later they said it. So yeah, she takes care of Maud. Now we have the Collector and T'Challa showdown that we've been waiting for. And boy, oh boy, does the Collector have a lot of weapons in his collection. First weapon we're going to see is a sad one. He has a rock fist that he puts on like a gauntlet. Yikes. This apparently is part of Korg from Thor the Dark World. Or sorry, not Thor the Dark World, Thor Ragnarok. So RIP to him. He summons a weapon display, which has Captain America's shield in there and Mjolnir in there, as well as Hela's helmet in there. So he's got a lot of shit. So T'Challa's going to deal with all of that. Meanwhile, Black Order is chasing down the Ravagers. Thanos has decided to stay back to kind of buy the rest of the Ravagers time to go escape. So he's going to be a mad titan, and he's going to take them all down. We're going to cut back to T'Challa fighting the Collector. Things aren't going super well. But never flies solo, so Yondu shows up with his arrow to attempt to help Collector is going to catch the arrow and destroy it, unfortunately. And now at least we have T'Challa and Yondu working together to take down the Collector. Hopefully, can stop him from, using the Hela helmet and continue from there. We're going to go back to Thanos, who's now getting his ass whooped. He was holding himself for a little while. But he's getting his butt kicked. Nebula's going to make the save. She's going to swoop in. She's going to use the embers, which they have recovered with the distraction from T'Challa. She's going to use the embers to she feeds the big one, and it causes, essentially a Jack and the Beanstalk thing to appear. And it, almost destroys that guy, but essentially destroys a big area of the city, and gives them an opportunity to kind of get out of there and run. So Yondu and T'Challa we're going back to them. They're trying to figure out how can we take the Collector down. So they have to make a little plan, pretty much sacrificing Yondu and chucking him at the Collector to get his face punched in. During this time, Yondu is going to actually swipe the gauntlet that Collector had on top of him that kind of allowed him to summon all these different pieces to fight with. He will swipe the gauntlet, giving T'Challa an opening to use his little rocket boots, jet things to dash in there and take care of business. So we seal Collector in a case. Karina is then given the gauntlet, so she lets everybody out of the collection, and from there the mob will then take care of the Collector as our friends get out of there. They take the Wakanda ship to escape, and they take Cosmo the dog as well, so a little fun thing there. So yeah, as they're flying away, T'Challa's not really sure where he belongs. Does he belong with the Ravager, still doing what he was doing, or he has the intrigue now of his home is fine? Should he go home? Should he try and reconnect with his family? He's kind of at a loss right now. And Yondu kind of has that heart-to-heart talk with him, and he does decide it's time to return to Wakanda and reconnect with his family, and obviously say he's okay. So they go back. King's all happy, everybody's happy, and they're all getting along and whatever. T'Challa will actually cover for Yondu at one point when the king asks, how did my son end up getting taken? T'Challa will cover for him, say, Yondu was looking out for me, I was lost, but here we are now. Then we're going to get the closing of this episode, which is actually perhaps one of the more interesting parts of this episode, just what the implications for down the road are. We're going to see Peter Quill, obviously, who was Star-Lord in the MCU. We're going to follow up with him seeing he is working at a fast food joint. He's mopping the floors, he's closing up, whatever. Somebody walks in, he's like, hey man, we're closed. Turns out to be Ego, his dad. So Ego shows up, says, I got to really show you what's going on here. You shouldn't be stuck here, essentially. So we have a possible follow-up to this episode. Unfortunately, this follow-up will be without Chadwick because, unfortunately, of his passing. This was his last portrayal of the character. But I'm wondering if they actually do follow through with this and continue this story along, or if that was just a little fun tease of the continuation of this timeline or whatever. I talked about it last episode, but the director has confirmed that there will be multiple seasons, so maybe this is something season 2. We get an episode 2 or part 2 of this, and obviously we'll fill the role of Chadwick, respectively, and do that. We'll have to see. Only time will tell. But that was cool. So yeah, that was the whole episode of T'Challa being Star-Lord. Once again, I thought this episode was great, much better than the first episode. Pacing was still a little bit fast at times, but I thought overall it flowed better. Maybe it was just because it was their original story, and it wasn't they had to hit certain story beats similar to episode 1 with Agent Carter, Captain Carter, going through the motions for Captain America First Avenger. Yeah, I just thought it was a lot of fun. Very intriguing, fun watch, great episode. If the rest of the episodes are similar to this, then I am fully back on the train. I was excited about this series going in. Episode 1 kind of kicked me off that train, but I'm fully back on now if the remainder continued to be this way. We talked about it last week. Like, I don't know how you even get the zombie thing that we've seen in the trailer, so I feel like that one will be more original. It's going to be interesting to see the Killmonger Iron Man episode, because similar to this, like, that's a pretty big change at the beginning. Do you continue to follow just the Iron Man movies, or like is it going to be completely fresh from there? I forgot what else they've shown, but obviously the animated intro too shows quite a bit of art for characters we've seen in the past, whether it's Captain Marvel, whether it's Hulk, whether it's Thor. So it's going to be interesting to see like who's a main story character and who's just like, oh, this character popped up, similar to Drax in this episode, where it's just like, oh, they happen to be doing something different, and then, you know, we're gone. But yeah, we'll have to see. I hope you guys enjoyed episode 2 of the What If series. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments section down below. I'd be happy to hear what you guys think of the series so far, whether it's episode 1, episode 2, what your hopes are for future episodes. Love to be on the conversation with you guys. But yes, this has been another episode of the Marvel Plus podcast. My name is Brett, aka Enigma9011, and you can catch this podcast live over on twitch.tv/Enigma9011 every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can join the chat if you're a subscriber over there, talk all the crazy theories and thoughts about the show as we go along and as we record it. If you can't catch it live, that's a-okay. You can go over to YouTube and SoundCloud the very next day, where it drops as a video in MP3 at 12 noon Eastern, so you can check it out over there in your whenever you want, at your leisure. But yeah, I appreciate everybody hanging out, giving this a watch, giving it a listen. I'm really excited for episode 3. I hope you guys are too, and I will see you guys next week. Hope you guys have a good one. Take care.